Confederacy was to relieve pressure on Chattanooga by sending Longstreet up to Knoxville to sort of turn around the side of the Union forces and distract them away from Chattanooga. All kinds of delays in getting Confederate forces on their way up to Knoxville. And this allowed the Union forces to really start to dig in to set positions in and around Knoxville.
So meanwhile, while they're holding them off, the Yankees are withdrawing back into Knoxville, and all along the way is a running skirmish along Kingston Pike here for several miles. The next major resistance was right where the Second Presbyterian Church is in Sequoia Hills. The Yankee line stiffened and tried to buy more time, which they did, and that's where General William P. Sanders was killed. In there's a marker right there at the church where he died or was killed by a sharpshooter. But that was a fairly stiff little battle, but it gave the Yankees time to complete their fortifications, and then they withdrew into the forts and the lines around Knoxville.
Longstreet was never very confident of success in Knoxville. Ultimately, though, he decided the best place, the vulnerability within Knoxville, was at the point at Fort Sanders, at this fortification. This was the one point that perhaps they could breach Union lines. Longstreet doesn't really do a very good job of reconnaissance of the area. He underestimates just how deep the ditches around this Union position at Fort Sanders are. He doesn't really understand how difficult it's going to be to climb up these earthworks that the Union forces have built.
It was particularly cold. It was November of 1863, so they were pouring water on the edges of the fort and letting it freeze, making it even more difficult for attackers to get into it. In addition to this, they had all the tree stumps, that they had cut down, and they tied telegraph wire between these stumps to create entanglements in case of an attack. And the Confederates just fell right into this perfect trap.
Longstreet thinks, well, they can just dig footholes into the side of these earthworks and make their way up. The reality on the morning of the attack, though, is the ground is frozen, it's been snowing and icy, and the earthworks are completely frozen. It's impossible to chip in any kind of toehold.
But these masses of troops just end up in this ditch milling about, and at some point the Yankees decide that they can, and they already had these 12-pound shells prepared with shortened fuses, or they would punch the fuse at a very short, 1 or 2 seconds time to explode, wreaking horrible carnage amongst the attackers. So the massacre's happening in the fort. They figure out that we've got to get the hell out of here.
After the Battle of Knoxville, Longstreet's forces kind of retreat back, pull back into East Tennessee, back towards Virginia. But they're never really able to do anything decisive after that, and Longstreet eventually makes his way back into the east. All that remains today of the once deadly battle are commemorative plaques placed throughout the neighborhood nicknamed the Fort, which is inhabited mostly by University of Tennessee students. We tend to think of the Civil War a lot of times just in terms of the blue and the gray, and clearly, it was a simpler time when things were clearly defined. And certainly the experience in East Tennessee, I think, shows you a messier side of things, not necessarily a more pleasant way of living for those people who actually had to go through it, but also a more interesting interaction of how the Civil War unfolded, and something that's still important for us to understand today.